Hello my friends, welcome back to another video. Today I have my November reading recap to share with you guys, or my November wrap up I guess, to share with you guys. We have a decent pile this month. I think I read 8 total, which is not bad. November really was such a crazy month and I think December might be even crazier, so I'm trying not to put any sort of like expectations on reading in terms of how many books I read, because the whole point of reading is supposed to be fun and supposed to be enjoyable, and as soon as I put an expectation on how many books I think I should be reading or how quickly I think I should be reading, it takes away the fun out of it. So I'm trying to get myself out of that mindset, but I have 8 books to talk about today. And in terms of quality, November was a great reading month. Like, I have some 5-star books to share with you. I think a few 4.5s, 4s, like it was a good month. So let's get straight into it. The first book that I read was Swear on This Life by Rach Carlino. So sorry if I butcher any of these names. This is the author of Before We Were Strangers. I haven't read that, but I know that's like probably her more famous novel. I actually just picked this up from a thrift store one day. Didn't realize who the author was, but it is blurbed by Colleen Hoover, and on the inside it's also blurbed by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and those are 2 of my favorite authors. So I picked this up based on that, and it's just been sitting on my shelf for so long, but I finally picked it up this month and I read it in I think 2 days. It was so good. It kind of felt like a Colleen Hoover book, so if you like Colleen Hoover, I think you would really love this one. It had emotional depth, it like pulled at your heartstrings, kind of broke your heart a little bit but then put it back together, which is probably my favorite type of book. I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this book. Maybe I've been living under a rock, but I feel like I just haven't seen it. It's a childhood friends to lovers. Personally, I kind of love going into a book almost like blind. Like, I don't really love to hear that much about it before I read a book, so I'll just tell you kind of like the main vibe and how I feel about all of these books. So in the story we have Emmeline and Jace, and we meet them when they're kids and they're next door neighbors and they just like love spending time together. They both have a pretty bad home situation. Emmeline lives with her dad, who is an alcoholic, and Jace lives with his mum, who is struggling with addiction, and they just have a pretty rough childhood, but they really find, I guess, comfort and solace in their friendship together. And as they grow older, that friendship changes into something more, but then something happens and Emmeline is taken away from her home, and because they're kind of younger, they lose contact with each other, and then you get to 10 years later, and I won't say exactly how, but somehow they kind of get reintroduced into each other's lives, and it's such a cool story about like how that happens. But now Emmeline is dating someone new and Jace is living a completely different life, and they're trying to work out like what this means now. It's a really beautiful story. I absolutely loved it and I definitely recommend it. In my book journal it says I gave it a 4.5, but I feel like I'd probably give it a 5 because I really loved this. The next book I read was Addicted for Now, so this is part of the Addicted/Calloway Sisters series. This is a 3rd book. I'm trying to read the series quite slowly because I just love the characters so much and I don't want it to end. To be fair, I'm pretty sure there are 10 books, so I still have quite a way to go in terms of finishing this series, but this one was definitely the chunkiest one so far and probably my favorite one so far. What did I give it? I gave it 4 stars. I feel like the Addicted series, thanks to Steph Boa, has really popped off on BookTok, BookTube, all those sort of places. But if you haven't heard about it, it's basically just a series of 6 people, 3 sisters and then 3 guys. 2 of them are brothers, 1 of them's just a friend, and the book just like follows their friend group, and each book kind of focuses on a different couple, but all of the characters are very present in all of the books, and it's just so good. The best way I can describe it is like Gossip Girl vibes. They're all from extremely rich families and they're very focused on reputation and their name and stuff like that, and there's just so much drama that goes on, but I freaking love this series. I'm obsessed with every person in that friend group and they feel like they are my friends. This is kind of like my comfort series, I guess, when I'm feeling lonely. These are the books that I read, so I feel like they're my friends and they're not real, which is probably not good, but I love this series so much, and if you haven't read it, I definitely would recommend it because you just get so attached. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear is it crickets? Bugs outside? That's just a constant noise at my house. It's a Queensland summer, so hard to avoid. The next book I have is a C.S. Lewis book. This is The Screwtape Letters, and this was incredible. I would probably give this a 4 stars. It's not the most readable thing. Like, I feel like you have to focus to really get the most out of this. I feel like that with all of C.S. Lewis's books because his language is not super digestible. It is incredible and he is genius, but I feel like it's not just like light reading. Like, it's something that you really want to focus on so that you can get the most out of it. But the concept of this book is wild. This is a Christian, I would say fiction because it's not necessarily non-fiction, but there is a lot to learn from it. Like part of me wants to put it in non-fiction because it's kind of like not a self-help book, but like kind of self-development, because you're supposed to kind of reflect on what C.S. Lewis writes and apply it to your own life. But at the same time, it is fiction, like it's not real. Basically, this book is a collection of letters from a demon mentor to a demon mentee. So in this little world of this book, every person on earth has a demon assigned to them, and all of those demons are basically trying to get those people to do the wrong thing, or to do things that will harm them or make them sad, or just kind of, yeah, I guess bring them away from God. And there is just this constant battle and this constant spiritual warfare of like God trying to get his children to love him, but these demons also trying to pull these people away from God. And it's so interesting because you get to hear, again, this is fiction, so we don't know if this is how it actually works or not. It might be, who knows? But we get to hear what sort of things that demons or that the devil could do to bring us away from God. So it talks about like how they use the tiniest things to get us distracted, to get us consumed by the world, to get us consumed by our emotions, and just to draw us away from God. And so this mentor is writing to this mentee, demon, about like tips and things that he could use to be a better demon and to be better at pulling people away from God. So extremely interesting concept and very, very like mind-boggling, at least it was for me, but such a good read. So genius, honestly. C.S. Lewis is just wild. Okay, I'm very excited to talk about the next two books. We have The Inheritance Games and The Hawthorne Legacy, both by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So we have book 1 in the series, book 2 in the series, and book 3 isn't released yet, so haven't been able to read that. I think it comes out August 2022, and I'm so sad that I have to wait that long to read it, because guys, these books are so good. I feel like this book will be the book that I like now recommend to like everyone, because I feel like a lot of people would absolutely love it. I feel like The Inheritance Games was specifically on my book talk for so long, and I was like, oh, I don't know, it looks interesting, but like not interesting enough for me to pick it up, basically. And then I heard Haley Pham rave about it, and I was like, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it for myself, see what I think. So I got it and I devoured it. It's just one of those books that you're like, wow, this is why I love reading, because this story is so good. So this is a YA mystery novel. Can I just say, YA is probably one of my favorite genres. I love reading young adult novels. Like I wish I loved adult novels just as much, but young adult is just so much better. It's just like fun. First of all, I feel like it's just way more fast paced than adult novels. So if you're just getting into reading, YA is definitely the place to start, but I feel like it's just a lot more light. It's just not as heavy, and sometimes that's just really nice. So basically, if you haven't heard about this book, we have a girl named Avery. I think she's like 16 or 17, I can't remember exactly. Her mum pretty much raised her whole life, but then 2 years ago, I think, her mum passed away and she went to go live with her half sister. So she shares the same dad with that sister, but not the same mum. But that sister is in her like early 20s, so she's not like that much older than her, but she goes to live with her, and they are just kind of struggling. Like they don't have a lot of money, they don't really have a lot of food, they don't really have like a lot of anything. And then one day she finds out that she has inherited billions of dollars from this random rich man. Like she has no idea who this man is, she has no idea why she's inherited this money, she has no idea why she's even on this will to begin with, but she is now the heir of so much money, so many assets, a huge like mansion, house, like crazy stuff. And this man, Tobias Hawthorne, has disinherited basically his entire family. In comparison to what he gave Avery, he gave his family basically nothing. And so his family is pissed. And within his family, he has 4 grandsons. They are the Hawthorne brothers, and obviously they are not happy about losing their inheritance either, and they want to know why Avery inherited this money, and so does Avery. And so they kind of start working together to pull apart this mystery and figure it all out, and it's just so fun because there are riddles and there are puzzles and there are clues, and they have to like find one thing to go to the next part and like solve these codes. It's just so fun, and at the same time there's a little bit of like a love triangle situation going on. I just can't recommend this enough. And then obviously I had to pick up the second book, which is The Hawthorne Legacy. So at the end of the first book, they get a lot of answers to a lot of their questions, but not all of their questions. And also solving like the first kind of mystery leads them into wanting to solve another mystery. So that's what the second book is about. Again, it was just super fast paced, super fun, just solving a mystery. The love triangle kind of develops in this novel. You don't really get like a conclusion, and I don't think we'll get a conclusion until the third book. I feel like after the second book, I was really invested invested in almost like their friendship group. So the 4 brothers and then Avery, and then Avery's best friend kind of comes along as well. And then her sister is kind of a part of it. So they have this like group of 3 girls and they're 4 brothers, and they're all just kind of hanging out together, solving mysteries together. And I just felt so invested in this group of people. So very excited to read the 3rd book. Cannot recommend these enough. I need to stop talking about them now because I have other books to talk about, but just such good books. Thank you, Hayley, for convincing me to read those. Next we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And let me just say, I was not expecting to really enjoy this as much as I did. I was skeptical. I do not feel like rom-coms are really for me. I prefer a solid romance. Not a rom-com, just a romance. I love it when it just like pulls your heartstrings, breaks your heart, puts it back together, and you just feel so invested with the characters and you just love them so much. And I feel like it's really hard to get that in a rom-com because often I just find it overly cheesy, and when they try and be funny, it's not really that funny a lot of the time. And it's just like, ugh. Like I often find myself just being like, ugh, I don't love that. So there has been very few rom-coms that I've been very impressed by. One of those that I have been impressed by, if you're looking for good rom-coms, is Life's Too Short by Abby Gillines. Is that right? I'll put a little picture on the screen. That one's really, really good because I feel like it had emotional depth, had really great characters, really great storyline, but it was still like funny. And this one I think I have to add to that list because it was really good. I really, really, really liked the characters in this book. I didn't find any of them too cringy. I feel like at times it was borderline, but overall they were just fun. The story was fun. It wasn't too deep, but it still had a little bit of emotional depth, so you still kind of felt attached to the characters and you're really rooting for them, I feel like. If you don't know what it's about, it's basically like fake dating trope. Olive is a scientist. She's trying to convince her best friend that she's not still in love with the guy that she was dating. So to do that, she pretends she's dating someone new and she randomly kisses this guy, and that guy ends up being like one of the professors, and he has a reputation for being quite serious, kind of mean, very strict, all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like that grumpy sunshine kind of vibe. It's the classic like he's mean to everyone else but nice to her. I feel like when I'm describing it, it doesn't do the book justice. You have to read it to really get it because it's so much better than I heard anyone describe it to me. When I actually read it, I was like, oh, this is really good. I think I gave it 4.5 stars, which is hella good for a rom-com in my rating system. If you're looking for something to read that isn't like super serious and it's just kind of like lighthearted and fun but still like romantic, this is a really good option. Then we have November 9 by Colleen Hoover, which this is actually a reread for me. I reread it for my book club that I just started. If you want to follow my book Instagram, Rach.reads, you can kind of follow along with everything there. I'll link it down below. But I'm gonna do like a little Instagram live sometime really soon. I don't actually know when. I haven't like booked it in or anything, but I'll post all the information about that on my Instagram. So if you guys want to join in with that, if you read it this month or you've just read it in general and want to talk about it with people, I'm gonna do a little Instagram live so we can all talk about the book and how we felt about it. So I won't talk about it too much, but I feel like this is gonna be in so many people's November reading recaps because November 9, like it's very on brand, you know? This was actually the first Colleen Hoover book that I ever read. I actually got into Colleen Hoover because M. Carey recommended her. If you guys don't know M. Carey, she's like the girl who fell from the sky. She fell out of the sky in like a skydiving accident, paralyzed for a really long time, and is like slowly getting her movement back. Super inspiring person to follow on Instagram, really love her content. But I don't know if she still does, but she used to read a lot of romance novels, and she is the one who got me into Colleen Hoover at least over a year ago. I don't know if it was 2 years ago. I think it was probably like a year and a half ago or something, and this is the first book that I read by her and I really loved it. 4 stars, I would say. Not my favorite Colleen Hoover book. It's a bit like too insta-lovey to be like my top tier favorite, but the concept of this book, so good. And the last book I read on my iPad, so I don't have the physical copy to share with you, but I read The Mistake by Elle Kennedy, which is the second book in her Off-Campus series. Is that the right one? Yeah. I always get Briar U and Off-Campus mixed up, but I'm pretty sure it's the Off-Campus series. So I read The Deal a few months ago and I just like wasn't that impressed. I think I gave it 3 stars. I just don't, and I still don't understand why it's a 5-star read for people, because it felt like so, first of all, I don't want to say surface level because they did touch on some like hard-hitting subjects, but it just wasn't that good to me. And I feel like there were so many parts where they would comment on like what girls are wearing and like make such a big deal out of it. Like she was hot because she wore like these types of clothes, and she wasn't hot because she wore these types of clothes. And like Hannah only became hot once she like started wearing this, and there was just so much focus on like your body and what clothes you were wearing, and like it wasn't for me. It just felt icky to me a lot of the time. However, The Mistake, I enjoyed that one a lot more, and I feel like I've heard so many people like bag out The Mistake. Like so many people be like, no, The Mistake is not good, like don't read it, just skip over it, go to the next one. And I'm so confused why, because I thought it was pretty fun. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, so definitely not like my favorite book ever, but overall I liked it better than The Deal. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts about it, because like I said, I hear so many people kind of like shut it down, and I would love to know why, because I'm sure people have valid reasoning for it. So let me know what you thought of The Mistake if you've read it. But those are all the books that I have to talk about today. I'm trying to like finish up this video quickly because I have to get out of the house because I have to be somewhere. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love sharing my reads with you guys. Love talking about books. Always. Let me know what's on your December TBR if you're planning on reading any certain books. I would love to hear about it, or let me know what your favorite book of November was. I would also love to hear about that. But I love you guys. I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.